Well, good Friday morning, everybody. It is the end of the week, and tomorrow it is the 250th birthday for America's independence on 4th of July, Saturday. Not much going on the Tamco Live Doppler radar this Friday morning. Around 4:40 this morning, we saw some showers, a couple storms over there towards New Iberia, but a lot of that has kind of quieted down. We see a little lonely shower over there towards Lake Jackson and Galveston, but we should see at least some isolated showers and storms, mainly this afternoon, and then by this evening and sunset, all that kind of dies down. We should at least get up to 20 to 30% coverage. We zoom out, you can see some of those offshore showers and a couple isolated little baby storms offshore. We'll see that kind of move a little further inland later this morning, getting into the afternoon. You got the heat of the day, you got the moisture, so we get those summer storms. I don't think coverage will be as high as the last couple of days, but very similar forecast tomorrow on 4th of July, Saturday, as of today. Should be just 20 to 30% coverage. Look at the satellite and radar, not much going on this morning, sponsored by Tamco. You can see that we've had that little burst of some showers and storms just near the coast of Louisiana, but right now, kind of quiet, but we should see another little burst or around later this morning, getting into the afternoon. Some isolated to possibly some scattered showers. Current temperatures, it is pretty much into the middle to upper 70s, mainly north of the I-10. You can find some low 70s like St. Augustine and up there in Jasper and Newton, but the rest of us from the I-10 corridor down towards the coast, we are off to a warm and muggy start into the upper 70s, already into the low 80s down there towards the coast. It is going to be a warm and hot day, but that's what we feel when we're in the month of July. Thanks to our sponsor of Silsby Ford. Get you one. This brings us to our outdoor and construction forecasts, very similar to what we're going to see tomorrow. So you can take a picture. 20 to 30% coverage is what we're expecting today. So we're not saying it's going to be 100% rain free. You will pull out your handy dandy radars between 12 and around 5 p.m. and you can find a couple isolated, maybe scattered showers. Again, this morning should be mostly quiet. Around lunchtime, mostly quiet, but we can see a couple isolated showers starting to develop. And around 3, 4, 5 p.m. is probably when we're going to see the highest coverage. Again, some of these isolated storms can get heavier, can have 20, 30, 40 mile per hour winds, but they can have some heavy downpours. 1, 2, 3 inches of rain, not impossible. A lot of times these are very small and isolated, but we can see lots of lightning with some of these summer storms. You got the heat, you got the moisture, you get in the 90s, you can generate lots of lightning. Tropics is very quiet, it's very boring, and that's exactly what we want to hear, especially this time of year. It's hurricane season. Tropics look quiet the next 7 to 10 days. Don't see anything going on. Lots of dry air and wind shear, keeping everything really quiet and at bay. This is wonderful news. Thanks to our sponsor once again of Tamco, showing us what's going on. High pressure's kind of been dominating this whole kind of setup. It's off there towards the northeast, allows the flow for moisture to kind of come into our region. Today and tomorrow, we have a chance for some isolated showers, maybe getting up to scattered, but we actually start getting somewhat more active as we get into Sunday into Monday. See that high pressure, kind of dies down, and then the door remains open for southeast Texas for some showers and thunderstorms to move in. And then we'll see, more of an active pattern as we get into Sunday and Monday. But let's talk about today and then getting into 4th of July, Saturday. Again, you can see that if there's any showers this morning is over there towards the Louisiana side, mainly towards New Iberia and Morgan City. But later this morning, getting into the afternoon, here comes that moisture, the heat of the day, maybe a little bit of that kind of the sea breeze is what we'll kind of see. We'll see some of these storms made along the coastal regions pushing to the I-10 corridor, starting off around High Island, Sabine Pass, Port Arthur, Cameron Parish, then kind of working their way further northward into the Beaumont region, getting closer to Lumberton. And then by the late afternoon into the early evening, we might see this kind of spread a little bit further northward, getting just north of the I-10 corridor. So Lake Charles all the way up to DeQuincy, and then areas from Woodville to Jasper. That would be your opportunity to see some of these isolated to possibly some scattered showers and storms. A lot of times in the late morning, early afternoon, these are mainly just some showers, mainly a quick downpour. But the later you get in the day, the more heat, the more energy. That late afternoon around 3, 4, 5, 6 p.m., that's when we could see some of these storms get heavier, and you could see the potential for a lot of lightning. So we will keep an eye on that. We'll watch over there towards southwest Louisiana and the Lakes region, possibly could get a little bit heavier storms. And then once we get into 4th of July, Saturday, about the same thing. We have the potential for 20 to 30% coverage, mainly into the afternoon. Once the sun goes down, sunset, and then we get into the evening and night, everything dies down. We can have a nice celebration for 4th of July. Today and tomorrow, mainly around 20 to 30%. It's not rain-free. We will still have some isolated storms, but we do see that coverage pick up once we get into Sunday, Monday, and still hang around a little bit on Tuesday. And then we start drying back out once we get into Wednesday and Thursday, thanks to our sponsor of Switch Electric. This afternoon, 20 to 30% coverage. Mainly thing you're going to see is it's going to be hot, but we see that this time of year in July. Low to mid 90s pretty much all across the board. Some areas getting into the upper 90s, and then down there towards the coast, starting to get a little bit closer to that 90-degree mark, mostly into the upper 80s. Thanks for a sponsor of Silsby Ford. Then overnight tonight, it should be a quiet night. Everything dies down once the sun goes down. Going to be warm and muggy and sticky. Upper 70s to low 80s down there from the I-10 towards the coast, and then low to mid 70s the higher up you get from the I-10 corridor. Here we are for Southeast Texas. 4th of July Sunday has not moved to Sunday. It should be Saturday. That is my apologies. Needed more coffee there. I think we do this probably all the time. We forget to move things. I apologize. But 4th of July Saturday, we're just looking at 20 to 30% coverage. And then once we get into Sunday and Monday, we do see that will increase to a little bit higher on Sunday and Monday. Could see 1 to 2 inches getting a little bit more active widespread. But the biggest thing we're watching is 4th of July Saturday. If we're going to have any rain, it should be mostly into the afternoon, and then by the time we get to the sunset hours, sneaking into the evening, just 10 to 20% coverage for an isolated shower. I think it looks really good. Everybody stay safe for 4th of July Saturday, tomorrow evening, and tomorrow night. Everything looks good. Still going to be warm, still going to be humid. That's the main thing to watch. And again, icon for 4th of July should be on Saturday. I apologize. But you can see today and tomorrow, not too active. Again, it's not rain-free, but we do see that coverage definitely jump up once we get into Sunday, Monday, and still hanging around on Tuesday. Wonderful time to go download the free Gulf Coast Weather Solutions app. Thank y'all again for tuning in to the Friday show. Y'all have a wonderful Friday and a good 4th of July weekend. Everybody, please stay safe, stay cool. And I know a lot of people are going to be out there drinking. Remember, it is hot out there. So I was watching some weather shows say, you know what, every beverage that you drink, I think it's every 2 beverages, at least drink a bottle of water. I'm a parent. I'm trying to be a parent again now. I'm over here lecturing you guys. But y'all have a good Friday. Stay safe. Have a good weekend. And thanks again for tuning in to Gulf Coast Weather Solutions.
Gulf Coast Weather Solutions is sponsored by. Thank you for making Gulf Coast Weather Solutions one of your go-to sources for weather around the clock. From heavy downpours and severe storms to winter weather and the tropics, we've got you covered with accurate, reliable forecasts you can trust.
Next week is starting to look a little bit more stormy.
But look what's moving into the state of Texas.
Gulf Coast Weather Solutions.